I didn't charge this phone for 2 full days, but that's not even the crazy part. This phone has an actual cooling fan built inside it, and I'm not talking about some cheap gimmick. I'm talking about a real engineered cooling system that kept this thing ice cold while I pushed it harder than any phone I've ever tested. This is the Honor Win, and it's doing something no other phone company has dared to do. But here's what nobody's telling you about this phone, and it's the reason I think this could change the entire gaming phone market. Stay until the end because what I discovered is going to shock you. But before I start, you need to know that this phone, the Honor Win, and the Honor Win series in general, all launched in China only. Until now, there's no official talk or news about it being released globally. But this phone, just like any phone that succeeded in China and did really well, the phone was released in China only. But of course, you can order it online and have it delivered to any country. Let's start with the first thing, which is the design. The phone's design as materials is very respectable. The back is glass and the frame is metal, and the phone is solid and you feel like you're holding something premium in your hand. But in reality, the design itself looks ordinary. A design that's not the sleekest thing, not the most elegant thing, and it doesn't even match gaming phones that have RGB in the back and all that. I don't know, maybe Honor said, no, I'll keep things super simple so that when this phone is in your hand, the RGB thing in weird shapes make the phone feel like it's only for gamers. No, this can suit anyone, very normal. Anyone looking for a phone that can handle heavy work and doesn't have a flashy look? In conversations, the Honor Win will be very good for them. But the high, very powerful specs affected its weight a bit. 229 grams. This is a flagship phone weight and might even be heavier than some flagship phones. So it's a bit heavy in the hand, but not a problem. Its thickness is reasonable, 8.3 millimeters. There's an extra button on the phone's frame that you can customize for anything. And of course, the most important thing in the phone is the cooling fan that's hidden like it's one of the phone's cameras. A very nice addition, and I see it could be a trend in the coming period, and many companies might use it in phones aimed at gaming and heavy games. Of course, besides Red Magic, which already uses a fan, but I'm talking about regular companies that aren't specialized in gaming. They might use this fan normally, and this fan cools the processor and expels hot air through cooling vents inside the camera frame. Now, someone will tell me, as powerful as this fan is, surely it'll have a negative role in that it might let dust and water into the phone's internal parts. I want to tell you no. When I looked at a teardown video of this phone, I found that the fan isn't mounted like a PC where the processor has the fan directly on it. No, here there's an insulating part between the internal components, the phone's internal components, and the fan. There's something insulating between them. This fan is mounted on top, so the fan itself is water resistant and resistant to everything, so don't worry about this story. This phone is water resistant IP68 and 69 and 69K, the highest water resistant certifications, and I tried drowning it and spraying water on it and all that, totally normal, and the fan is working because the idea of getting a small motor, a water resistant fan, this thing is easy now. And like I told you, the phone's internal parts are sealed very well. The dust idea itself that might get stuck, look, I don't think anyone would buy this phone and not run the fan. And anyway, when you run the fan, it will actually expel any dust particles sitting inside the airway of the part where the air comes out. This is obvious, but still, it could happen. This is something that will show after many months of use, and we're in winter now anyway, and the weather is cold and there's not much dust in the air. So let's pass this point. Let's just listen to the sound of the fan turning on, because I really like it. And you can also change the sounds. We have racing, we have turbo, that's nice, a car turning. And there's you not making any sound, and this is the fan sound running. I don't know if you'll hear it or not. This is on the highest setting. Acceptable actually, not too loud or over, and if you leave it on smart, it doesn't get that loud unless the processor really gets pushed, and we'll definitely talk about these stories in a bit in the performance part. But before we talk about performance, let's see the very impressive screen. A large screen, 6.83 inches, AMOLED 1.5K with 185 Hz refresh rate, and the screen of course supports HDR10+. The screen here is completely flat with very minimal bezels. As soon as I I took this phone out of the box, I liked the colors of the screen. And lately, I've been liking Honor's default screen colors, boosted with colors to the degree my eyes love, and I don't need to adjust them. If you remember the Honor X9D screen in the mid-range, I really liked it. So the Honor Win screen here, for me, is very nice in usage, and its colors are very good. And as for brightness, this phone reaches 6,000 nits, actually reaches 2,000 nits under the sun, and its brightness is clear and very strong. And by the way, the phone doesn't lower the brightness or lighting after a while under the sun. Very strong in this area. Now, as for the 185 Hz part, this might be a bit of an exaggeration, or it's not an exaggeration. The screen is actually 185 Hz, but Android doesn't have many applications that support above 120 Hz. I mean, right now, I searched in the settings, set the screen to 185 Hz, and went to see what applications I can run at 185 Hz. I didn't find any, and most of the time the phone runs at 120 Hz. But there's something. The smoothness of the animations and navigation in the phone is very fast. This is faster than the 120 and 144 Hz I've tried before, and this is something I can't film for you. You need to see it with your eyes and compare it to another phone to feel the extra smoothness I'm telling you about. And touch response here is amazing and very, very fast. And also, you have the highest dimming rate comfortable for the eye, 5,920 Hz. And this is a huge number I haven't seen in a phone before, not even a flagship phone. So the screen here, I really, really like. Oh, someone will tell me 1.5K, man, I want Quad HD. Get past this point. We're seeing flagship phones now at 1.5K, and the screen is actually good. And it has a protection layer, but they didn't specify its type. And it comes in the box with a screen protector already installed. And we go to the strongest thing in this phone, which is the processor. The most powerful processor from Qualcomm, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 with the fastest storage memory, UFS 4.1 with Android 16. And the phone here, of course, is Chinese ROM, but the Play Store and Google services work on it totally normally. There's no problem using this phone, and Arabic language downloads on it and everything normally. So don't worry about this point. And the first thing I noticed is that the benchmark program numbers are very, very high on this phone. This processor, of course, needs no introduction. A very powerful processor, and the phone's performance is very fast, rocket-like in the true sense of the word. Nice performance. You know, I don't know how to describe to you how fast the phone is, and maybe what made me feel the phone's overspeed here is the very fast screen, the 185 Hz, the very smooth animations and transition between programs. Really, the phone proved to me that it can possibly be providing the best performance experience. But I'll come back and tell you something. Daily performance with a lower processor, even Qualcomm 8 Elite, will give you a very good experience in most competing phones, whether old flagships or anything. So we're not here to talk about this point. We're here to talk about this phone being aimed at heavy games, heavy work, continuous pressure, and all these things. So what's the news with heat and processor throttling and all that? Let me just tell you about the heat part. In normal daily usage, the phone doesn't heat up and doesn't need the fan. And we'll start our test without turning on the fan to know exactly what its role is. And this is a 15-minute stress test on the phone. Look, after a few minutes, severe throttling started to happen. How? And by the way, this isn't a flaw in the phone. Qualcomm processors with very, very heavy pressure on them sometimes throttle and return to their performance again. So while you're playing, you'll feel frame drops and the phone will stabilize with you again. This is something present in most Qualcomm processors. And also keep in mind that I have performance mode on, meaning I'm taking the highest power from the processor, and the phone's heat reached 53 degrees Celsius through the Antutu application. Okay, forget all that. Let's see when you turn on the fan and do the same test for 15 minutes while you're also running performance mode. You'll find amazing stability. The phone dropped only about 15% of its performance, and this is a very, very small number for the great power this processor puts out.
And this is because of the cooling fan that's trying to cool the processor so it stays solid and stable and doesn't reduce its frequencies. And the heat reached 47 degrees Celsius. So we're talking about the fan in this phone making a huge difference in performance stability. The heat itself dropped 6 degrees, or about 5 degrees Celsius. And also the processor didn't reduce its frequencies much. Bottom line, the Honor Win, this is pretty much the best phone I've tested in a very long time, or maybe I've tested until now in gaming, heavy work, and very intense performance. If you're someone who wants something with this power, wants a car with a powerful engine, you step on the gas hard without the engine heating up or the gas running out, we'll talk about the gas part, which is the battery, in a bit, then you and the Honor Win are meant for each other. And by the way, PUBG here, because this is Chinese ROM, runs at 90 frames, but I know any gamer who gets this phone will know how to drop a file and make it run at higher frames. And by the way, this phone's performance, for example in PUBG, it's like it's not running anything. The fan reaches up to 25,000 RPM, but you won't find it running at full power except after a long time inside PUBG, when you find the phone started heating up, so it goes and runs hard to suck the processor's heat, and then calms down again. And the phone gives you a very stable experience in PUBG. You know, you might come now and tell me, well, I can just get any phone with a good processor and attach an external fan to it. You're right, if you can do that, do it. But the idea of having a fan originally inside the phone body, not needing you to carry it separately or bother you while you're holding the phone, this is a very good thing. Second, this fan isn't overpricing the phone. It's an addition on top of very, very powerful specs. Let's see the battery. The battery here is 10,000 milliamp hours, the biggest battery I've tested inside a phone until now, and really the battery performance is good. I'll tell you something. PUBG here, half an hour takes about 4% of the battery. So you're talking about one full charge getting you into about 10, 11 hours of PUBG. I'm not talking to you about normal use. I'm talking to you about 10, 11 hours of continuous PUBG on the phone without charging and without overheating. So this is something I don't see generally. And if your use is average between daily use, social media, and games in between, this phone will last you 2 days, and this is a very respectable number. Yes, there might be a slight exaggeration in the battery number. It's not 10,000, maybe it's 8,000, something like that, but still, it's a very strong battery, and one of the strongest batteries in a phone aimed at performance and gaming. And also, you have a very fast 100-watt charger inside the box that charges this very large battery in about an hour, and this is because the fan also works while you're charging the phone, so it doesn't heat up much, so the charging speed stays high until the end, and this is a good thing. And also, it supports 80-watt wireless charging speed. I don't have an 80-watt wireless charger to try it actually, and of course there's definitely bypass charging, where you play with the phone and plug in the charging socket without the phone heating up, and you preserve the battery because it's not charging. You're connecting direct from the electricity from the charger, but you don't need to do this on this phone anyway. The phone's fingerprint here is ultrasonic like flagships normally, and its performance is very fast. The phone, of course, has an extra mic for noise cancellation, there's NFC feature, there's always-on display, you can keep it on all the time, and its sound is amazing. Its sound is stereo, very loud. This is one of the loudest sounds I've tested in a phone. The phone's sound, guys, is not normal, very loud, very huge, very well calibrated. And from the strength of the bass coming out of the speakers, there's a slight vibration in the back. This isn't a vibration from weak components, no, this is a loud sound vibration. The sound impressed me. The proximity sensor here is software, but works acceptably in calls, and cellular networks and Wi-Fi are very strong and have no problems. And we wrap up with the cameras, which might not be the strongest thing in the phone, but when I tried them, I found them not a flaw at all. The phone's camera is good for its price. The phone has 3 lenses in the back. The main one is 50 megapixels, aperture 2.0 with optical stabilization. The second lens is telephoto, 50 megapixels, aperture 2.4 with optical stabilization, responsible for real zoom or zoom 3x, reaches digitally up to 100x. And the last lens is 12 megapixels ultra-wide, and the selfie is 50 megapixels, aperture 2.0. Look, when I tried this phone, I found that it gives me very good photos. I feel like I don't need more than this inside my phone. I know it might not be the strongest photography experience, nor is it a flagship phone in photography, but let's remember who this phone is aimed at. This phone is aimed at gamers for heavy performance, for heavy work. It's not aimed at photography. So if you want a phone from Honor focused more on photography and you'll pay money, definitely you'll get the Honor Magic 8 Pro, which definitely its camera experience will be better. But But the Magic 8 Pro has no fan, no strong battery like here, no performance experience generally like here. I haven't tried the Magic 8 Pro for a long time, but it also has good performance with the same processor. But I'm saying the Honor Win is cheaper and gives you a very strong setup, so don't expect too much from the cameras. But still, I want to tell you the cameras are very good. If we're going to compare it to the flagship killer category, which it was supposed to be in, you'll find it very strong. Like normally, maybe like the 15T Pro competing with it, stronger than it in things, weaker than it in things, at the same level like that. And this is not a low level at all. Don't think that the camera here will be a big sacrifice, but I come back and tell you don't compare it to flagship phones in the photography world. If you're a photography lover and you focus on photos and want the best photography experience and best settings to shoot with, video recording with the Honor Win is at 4K 60 frames. This is the maximum settings with the main rear camera and the telephoto lens and the selfie lens, but the ultra-wide lens, its max is 4K 30 frames. Let's test together now the 4K 30 frames on the main lens and see if this phone shoots videos like flagship phones or flagship killers. Tell me your opinion. Now we'll go to the wide lens, and now we'll go to the 3x zoom lens, the telephoto. I feel a slight difference in the video quality and colorings from the main lens. Let's test together also the sound quality and colors and details and all these things. And anyway, I'm seeing the phone screen now excellently, guys. The phone screen brightness here is really not normal. But also keep in mind the conditions we're shooting in now aren't the best thing. I don't know what's going on. The weather is a bit gray. The sky is gray, not blue. And this is a test for night shooting with the Honor Win on 4K also with the main lens. I don't know if the aperture that's not very large, which is 2.0, will affect the video recording quality at night or not, and the processor is flagship anyway. Oh, the telephoto lens at night? No, not the best thing at all. 2.4, of course, and this is the main lens. And this is the ultra-wide lens, which of course at night, its performance is not the best thing. Okay, and this is a test for selfie video recording on 4K with the Honor Win. I see it's very good. I don't have any problems. And the angle is wide, 0.8x, so okay, nice. Before I tell you the prices, this phone is Chinese, so it doesn't support eSIM. Focus with me now. This phone is being sold now, the 256GB and 12GB version, for about $650, and the 512GB and 12GB version for about $750.
All prices mentioned are approximate estimates, meant to give you a general idea. Please check local prices in your country for accuracy.
I want to thank you very much if you made it with me to the end of the video. Make sure to write me a comment and tell me your opinion. Would you buy the Honor Win, or do you have another opinion? And I hope you make sure, by the way, that you've subscribed to us if you're watching us for the first time on YouTube, and turn on the notification bell so you get our new videos as soon as they drop.